Well, maybe I won't. Damn. All right. For those of you that are here, thank you for coming through. I definitely appreciate that. I definitely want to thank you for your patience as I'm getting going here. I'll be right with y'all here very shortly. Just had to finish eating real quick. And yeah, we'll be good to go. I'm just going to go ahead and take care of one other thing, and I'll be right back. We'll get started. Oops, didn't mean to have the towel on me, but what's up, y'all? Good to see y'all. Yeah, a little late as I get started, but I'm here now. Of course. Uh, yeah, just a lot of interesting stuff that wound up taking place today. I was pretty much just as surprised as anybody else was. Obviously, we're at a point now where R-Truth is no longer a part of WWE, and same is true for Carlito. I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting to have that be something I was going to be talking about here right now, but I mean, it is what it is. Just it's kind of shit that's going to happen one way or another. Yeah, just really wild, and I'm thinking even as we speak right now, I'm willing to bet because there was a lot posted when it came to Truth today. Let me see. And I'm seeing the post where he actually announced that he was going to be leaving from WWE, and it's just really wild. I'm just going to go through everything here as I scroll down. I'm seeing more of the typical variety of things that I would see on here, at least for everything that I follow and all that. But yeah, not quite as much as I was seeing before. Exactly. Okay, we gotta check that out apparently. But anyway, yeah, I'm just scrolling down right now. Oh wow, that's funny. This is really funny. I'm gonna have to just show this to y'all, but this one's really, really wild. I'm gonna go ahead and try to add this here. Yeah, this right here. Oh, I'll just put it right here so you can still see me. I mean, damn. Wow. The things to say about this one. I mean, yeah, that's just really, really wild. Yeah. That's just so funny. You got baby Judgment Day. Like, I'm kind of trying to decipher what all we got here. This obviously is truth. And clearly we got Finn right over here because that's gotta be Finn's beard. I want to say this is Dom? I'm not 100% sure. It feels like this would be Dom. And maybe Liv right here and Raquel. I don't know. It's like kind of wild looking at this the way that it is. But yeah, oh man. That is just way, way too fucking funny. Man. Oh my god. Well, at any rate, man. That's just one of the different things I've seen so far today. I gotta say, it's just interesting. But no, I was actually going through it, and I'm still kind of going through it now because it was mentioned earlier that there was an awful lot of backlash. And I guess I'm seeing one example of it here, but yeah, just kind of wild to see. Actually, no, let me just mess around with one thing here. I'm sorry, going through it, but yeah, I am looking through this now. It doesn't seem as though it's as heavy as it once was, but there were a lot of people that just were making their thoughts and feelings very, very well known here in terms of what happened with R-Truth. Not so much Carlito for whatever reason, but definitely in regards to R-Truth. And let's see. Ah, man, that's wild. Got this clip. We'll check that out later, but yeah. There's still quite a bit, just not as heavy as it was maybe a few hours ago. Like, and then of course I see an awful lot regarding the end of NBA on TNT, which obviously that's been a significant subject for me. Wow, now I even see a picture where we got a photoshopped Trae Young and Giannis in Brooklyn Nets uniforms. So yeah, take that for what you will. I mean, wild as it comes. I don't know what else to say other than that, but nonetheless, yeah, just really wild to think about that. Sorry, I'm messing with my hair so much, but anywho, gosh. Where do I want to start with that? Well, in all honesty, I'll just say this. I'll start with Carlito real quick. Where he's concerned, yeah, it's actually a contrast when you talk about Carlito. He isn't being spoken about nearly as much as Truth is, which is a little bit wild to me. Yeah, It's wild to me, only because, I mean, I figured there were plenty of people that actually like Carlito to some degree, but maybe not quite as much as Truth. But then again, you look at Truth, his stint goes from when he came back from TNA Wrestling, because he was with WWE back at the end of the 90s, like right around the year 2000, I think it was. And of course, he was known as K-Quick, but then went on to TNA, became Raw and the Truth Killings, and of course after that went back to WWE, became R-Truth as we know him now. And he had been there ever since. Now, Carlito was still there at the time, but I guess at that point it wasn't that far away before we got to where we would see Carlito ultimately leaving the company. And I don't really remember all the circumstances behind all of that, but yeah, it just got to a point to where Vince wasn't interested in using him the same way, him and either of his brothers, Orlando and Primo, who really, I think that's a shame. I think there are a variety of things you could have done with the three of them as a group, but you can only spare so much room for that, I guess, and that's just where Vince was at, where all of that's concerned. And then, of course, they bring him back a couple of years ago at the San Juan Backlash, which I thought he got a really, really good reaction. And if nothing else, I thought it was really cool because maybe this time around he can actually make some things happen. Maybe even find a way to sniff main event territory, at least perhaps even be something of a mid-carder, even if it was as enhancement talent, similar to The Miz. Like, I don't know. It's just really royally wild that that's the case. And even more to that point, there are a couple of people that actually said they kind of figured, if nothing else, if they weren't going to do so much with Carlito, he could end up being a coach or a producer backstage, which would make an awful lot of sense for Carlito as well. And I said in the video earlier, it's just, they weren't really doing a whole lot with him, even as a part of Judgment Day. I mean, he was literally just there. And it was funny because he actually started joining the LWO when he got back with Rey Mysterio, Dragon Lee, Zelina. Well, actually, no. Dragon Lee wasn't a part of that yet. It was actually the members of Legado, which actually consist of Santos Escobar, Benicio del Toro, and I think Joaquin Cruz is what he goes by. We used to know him as Zemo Ion with TNA once upon a time. But, yeah, he, all of them wound up joining Rey, along with Zelina Vega, who ended up joining Legado for whatever reason. I'm not even sure why that was the case, because if anything, it seemed like Elektra Lopez was going to be a part of that when they first got called up, but she got pulled back, and it was them, but they added Zelina to that. And, of course, Elektra has been gone since. If I remember correctly, she signed with TNA. I'm not 100% sure. I really don't even remember what happened with that specific situation. But either way, yeah, obviously Elektra's no longer there. And funny enough, as Carlito, of course, being a part of LWO with that, after he comes back, yeah, just, it's pretty cool seeing them as a group and everything. But again, it's not like they were doing a whole lot. I mean, you had the storylines where I want to say they went against Judgment Day. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, there were a lot of wild things going on. And actually, I just realized this is what makes it kind of wild here. Now that I think about it, it was, of course, the Legatos as they were joining LWO, but it was actually Carlito came around, and that was the reason that Santos broke away from that and brought back Legato, but now he has Los Garza with him. And Berto and Angel Garza, Humberto Carrillo, but now he's just Berto, of course. But yeah, him and Garza are part of that now. Although it seems as though Berto may be breaking away, possibly rolling with Andrade at some point, which is really interesting. And going back to the whole LWO thing, it got really funny because Dragon Lee ends up joining up with him, and Carlito's still there and everything, but they set it up to where he breaks away from that after attacking Dragon Lee. And of course, that was the thing to where Dragon Lee was supposed to team with Rey Mysterio, and I think that was against Judgment Day at WrestleMania 40 last year. And of course, that wound up being because of the fact that Carlito actually attacked Dragon Lee, jumped him, put him out of commission so he could get the spot and actually make his WrestleMania appearance the way that he did. So, him being figured out, he goes to join the Judgment Day for protection, which to me, I'm still not even understanding how that worked out. There was no real payoff on that, because even after LWO transitioned from SmackDown to Raw, they didn't even go anywhere near Judgment Day like that. In fact, they basically have been kept apart quite significantly, and well, if we're being perfectly honest, LWO almost is non-existent to a degree. I mean, with Ray having been injured, and I mean, Dragon Lee's been doing his thing. I guess to some degree, I guess Ray Phoenix has been some part of that, even though he's on SmackDown. Yet Penta's on Raw, where LWO is. I don't know. Anyway, just really, really wild stuff. But, yeah, just getting back to Carlito, it just was a whole lot of nothing going on. And really, if we're just being honest, I think we all know for a fact Judgment Day, a lot of people were kind of frowning on that as they were getting to continue to be what they were as we knew it. And in the long run, of course, as I understand it, it seems there's going to be a split to where there's going to be two different groups. I don't know how that's necessarily going to be working, but I guess there's going to be Finn's side and Dom's side. We'll see where it goes. I mean, really, really interesting stuff, but definitely some things to look forward to, but not with Carlito as a part of it, which is really, really wild to think about. But best wishes to Carlito. Man, I'm trying to think, because I did hear, and I'm trying to think of the promotion. It was like World Wrestling Council or something like that. Either way, he won their Puerto Rican championship, so he'll still be wrestling, at least for the foreseeable future. And just where all that goes from there, only time will tell. I mean, could he possibly end up in AEW, maybe even TNA for that matter? I don't know. I mean, that's really, really tough to say at this point. But if nothing else, I think it's very, very likely we're going to get the split for Judgment Day. I would say, what's the next show? Maybe not Money in the Bank. I'd say probably around the time that we get that July Saturday night's main event that is supposed to be one of those things that's sabotaging AEW that weekend for All In. We're going to talk about that too here in a bit, but yeah, I'm thinking somewhere around then if they haven't already done it at that point, you know, because it just, I think the split is inevitable, and we're probably getting that. I would dare say we're getting that in the next couple of weeks, really. But like I said, we'll find out about that. Best wishes to Carlito, and yeah, kind of wild shit there. Now we'll go ahead and focus on our truth. And man, yeah, again, just all the things that have been said today, and just so many posts, so many things being said, a lot of backlash apparently that's taken place against WWE for this. Like, they literally don't want to see truth not a part of WWE. Now, thing about it is that it doesn't seem as though Trips has a whole lot for him after this whole Ron Cena thing, and of course, we did see him Friday night on SmackDown taking the loss to JC Mateo, and I'm just trying to think, having watched that. It just didn't strike me as any sort of an indication that he was on his way out. I mean, sure, that's the kind of thing you see when you have talent that's jobbing out, but I figured Truth was just jobbing out. And maybe we're going to get some payoff for this whole thing to where he was just basically going crazy the way a lot of us have been seeing over the last, God, 2-3 years now, it seems like. Like, just, especially having John Cena being his childhood hero, and of course the reason that he was released, he's 53, and yet Cena, I believe, is 47, 48, I think? Yeah, something like that, but really, really wild shit. I felt like we were going to get a bit more of a payoff as far as that whole thing was concerned. Doesn't seem like that's going to be the case, but hopefully if the backlash is strong enough and WWE is listening and they decide to make that pivot that was much talked about when it came to Cody finishing his story last year, maybe we do get that payoff. Who knows? I mean, it's just really, really wild to think about, and I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens with that with time. Again, I don't see how Truth does not have so much to offer in terms of wrestling. I mean, it's just hard for me to believe. On one hand, I could see AEW being an option. Not even so much just because of the fact that you got guys like the Hurt Syndicate, or even though he's not active right now, Adam Copeland. I'm trying to think of some other ones that just went over there that signed. I'm not going to count Speedball Mike Bailey because he's not necessarily WWE. He just happened to be TNA as they started that working relationship, so that damn sure don't count. But yeah, there was someone. Like, I'm feeling like I heard about someone signing there. And I think WWE let their contract expire. I don't know. Maybe I'm mistaking that for someone else. I am pretty sure Cedric Alexander will be making his appearance on AEW very soon, his debut. I just haven't heard too much on when that may or may not be. And if nothing else, I guess it is a matter of time. But as I understand it, yeah, he at least is on the verge of signing with AEW. I mean, again, I just don't know any details. I'm just getting to the point where I'm keeping up with the news on things again, so that I'm not 100% sure on. But I will say that the further along that we get with this whole Hurt Syndicate storyline involving MJF, that's where we're going to be a little bit closer to where we see Cedric coming through, I think. And not only that, obviously that's going to be where the Hurt Syndicate, in terms of MVP, Lashley, and Shelton, will end up ultimately turning on MJF. But MJF will be quick enough to counter, probably start another group of his own, similar to what he did with the Pinnacle a few years back. Obviously, that didn't go quite where that could have, but maybe it could again. I mean, interestingly enough, FTR did just turn heel, and not only that, they did join Stokely Hathaway. Now, the thing about that is what those three have in common is the fact that Max actually burned the bridges with them fairly recently. Well, maybe not fairly recently, but just he actually did that to each of these people. But, strangely enough, there's a possibility you could see them joining up again. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I guess maybe I'm just spitballing, so to speak, but it's going to be really, really interesting to see. I mean, maybe he ends up rolling with Don Callis, although I don't think that would make a lot of sense. I mean, it barely makes sense with the Hurt Syndicate as it is, just given the story they've been telling between MJF and MVP and the history that they seem to have together, and of course it was talked about on Dynamite all those weeks back, especially as MVP and Hurt Syndicate started coming along. Regardless, and not that I would put Truth with Hurt Syndicate or anything like that. I doubt that's going to be the case. Honestly, I could see him being just someone who, we'll just say a lot of the things that he was doing for WWE, he could do for AEW. And if nothing else, yeah, he would end up being just a guy with AEW, no doubt about that. But at the same time, it's also a matter of he also, well, I don't know. I guess that's a little trickier than I thought it would be. I mean, but there's ways you can utilize Truth in AEW, maybe even Ring of Honor for that matter. Of course, a lot of people are talking about him going back to TNA, which is also, I think, very realistic. Maybe more so than AEW. Specifically because again, a history that's there with TNA. He is a former NWA World Champion. I don't know if they would consider that having him been TNA Champion or whatever, but there are a lot of aspects of that could work. Now, the only thing about it is, can you make him a main event player there? I mean, would that be a move? It's just going to be really, really interesting, but regardless of all that, to me, Truth doesn't even need to be in the main event picture for anything. He just needs to be Truth, or what variation of Truth he's going to end up being, wherever he ends up going. Should he continue wrestling, of course. And that obviously is up to him, and one way or another, I guess we'll find out. But I guess big picture-wise, this is actually really, really interesting because, yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll look forward to seeing what we find out about that, but that'll all come with time. But yeah, I got a little heavy into AEW talk here, so I guess I'll move along to the other thing that I wanted to get into about that, where AEW is concerned here. Okay, now I guess that's a little more accurate. Anyway, don't mind me with saying that. With AEW, obviously a lot of good things have been going with them. I'm actually pretty pleased with AEW in 2025. Incredibly, actually. Especially for the fact that, I mean, just thinking back to a lot of what we got towards the end of 2022, throughout a lot of 2023, maybe even some portions of 2024, this is like night and day difference better than all of that. And they're going in so many of the correct directions, which is what I felt like was true last year. But now I can actually say that at this point in time, and there's almost no denying it at this point, especially with the things that we're seeing. Storylines are better. Um, Segments are definitely better. I mean, just the in-ring segments with stuff like basically the way they bookended this week's Dynamite, specifically the start of the show, where of course we got the Owen Classic winners in Hangman and Mercedes, respectively. And just starting with Hangman specifically, that was probably one of his best segments in a really, really long time for my liking. I mean, man. Especially reflecting on his win over Will Ospreay at Double or Nothing last weekend. I mean, literally a week ago tonight, actually. And it was really quite incredible. Now, I will say, going into it, I really did have Ospreay winning the match. But at the same time, Hangman winning makes an awful lot of sense as well. And really, it's one of those situations where you seriously cannot go wrong either which way about it. And that's what makes this so good. And even more than that, just the fact that Swerve ended up coming out to interrupt the segment, and they would end up eventually being joined by Will Ospreay. I mean, it's just incredible. And I said this, I want to say last night during the stream, shout out to True Heel Heat. You know, they were talking a lot about that, and one of them said something about how you look at those three, those are your big three right there. Those are your big three. Those are your pillars right there. And I absolutely have to agree with that, because they're easily your biggest draws. They're probably your three most popular stars in the company today, aside from maybe Tony Storm. And I'm just trying to think who else actually fits into that category with AEW. I don't think there's that much of anyone that does, at least to that extent. I mean, yeah, I don't think any three guys in the company right now are in as good a situation as Swerve, Hangman, and Ospreay. Like, it's probably close, but I'm not exactly sure how much so. I mean, it's real funny because I saw another video earlier where there was this guy, I can't remember his name right now, but he was actually talking about the UFC, and he said some interesting stuff. If I could remember his name, I would look him up and I would put a link in the chat right now. But what he talked about there was specifically situations, well, for those that actually do follow MMA, specifically the UFC, to any extent, at least even similar to what I once did at one point, I'll just break it down like this. They got 6 guys right now who are their biggest draws in the UFC. And I'm going to try to see if I... yeah, there are at least a couple of them I'm not going to be able to name. One of them is obviously Conor McGregor, of course. Funny thing about that, we have no idea if and or when we are ever going to see Conor in the Octagon. And it's funny because that was supposed to be the case with Michael Chandler, only I guess he wound up getting, I guess McGregor got injured or something? I don't really remember. And I don't really have a whole lot of an idea of what is supposed to be the case since then. I mean, I just remember there was an episode of Raw where Michael Chandler was on there, and of course he was talking his shit and called out McGregor point blank on Monday Night Raw. So there's definitely that. There are two other names, and for some reason I just can't. Oh no, I remember another one. Israel Adesanya. And I gotta bring him up because he's the one that surprises me in terms of how he was brought up in this. And I'll go into that here in a moment. But yeah, it was Conor McGregor and Israel Adesanya. And then another one is someone I've talked about quite a bit recently, in Alex Pereira, the current light heavyweight champion of the world. Additionally, Tom Masvidal and current heavyweight champion John Bones Jones. Yeah, there's one more I'm trying to remember. And I guess this one was a fight they were going to set up for Conor. I can't really remember his name. But he's a big name in the UFC. I'm struggling with that one right now. Anyway, I'm just going to get right into the point. The point I'm trying to make here is all of them are 35 and older. Okay? 35 and older in the UFC. And I had no idea these guys were this old, especially Israel Adesanya. Sorry, I don't know why I pronounced it that way, but he's apparently 35. I didn't realize he was that old already. Like, I figured he was still in his 20s. I kind of half expected him to be in his late 20s, but, you know, after, I almost want to say it was Masvidal that he lost to. I don't know. Either way, it was someone that because he was the middleweight champion at the time, and he went up a weight class to light heavyweight and went against the champion in that division at the time. I can't remember who it was, but, yeah, I think that one was one where you should have had Israel do at least a couple of fights at 205, similar to what they did with I love when I can talk so well. Yeah, similar to what they did with Anderson Silva when he was really in his prime. And, of course, he was taking on light heavyweight fights with James Sandman Irvin, Forrest Griffin. I think he even went against Stephan Bonner. And there are at least a handful of other guys that he fought on the light heavyweight division. And of course, the last guy he took on in that division, he actually lost to in Daniel Cormier. But the thing I'm trying to say about that is that at that point, you know, with the momentum that he had, there was a really good chance you were on the verge of seeing a potential super fight between Silva and the aforementioned John Jones. But stepping away from talking about Anderson Silva for a bit, yeah, but that's the same thing with all the other fighters that I mentioned. Of course, Adesanya, McGregor, Masvidal, Pereira, and Jones. All of them are 35, and it seems as though they all want no more than 2 fights, probably even 1 at most. And of course, there's the big thing about John Jones and Masvidal is supposed to be the next major heavyweight championship fight. Oddly enough, he is looking forward to that, and he has been on record saying that. Only in that same vein, in the same interview or whatever it was, he did actually go on record saying that he really wants a fight with Alex Pereira. And I actually did a video or 2 talking about that. I'm still hoping that actually does happen because, truth be told, I don't see why you wouldn't want to make that fight at this point, because Pereira is as hot as he's ever been. Jones, whenever they set up the fight with Masvidal, oh wow, okay, I just noticed something. I'll go into that in a minute. Yeah, with Masvidal and Jones, there is an interesting detail about that. And a lot of people are saying that Jones is ducking Masvidal, which, nah, don't do that. I mean, I'm not as heavy a fan of his as now, but don't disrespect John Jones like that. He's literally their MJ, but that's neither here nor there. Turns out the only reason that the Jones Masvidal fight has yet to happen at this point is specifically because I guess the deal that UFC had with ESPN is on the verge of expiration, which is really, really interesting. And this is really wild because, if we're being perfectly honest, I don't think the UFC's impact has been what it once was. I'm going to say 10, 15 years ago. Like, the momentum that they once had just... I'll just be frank and say it is dead. There is no momentum with the UFC anymore. Sadly, you got the closest thing to that in Bellator, and I mean, are they really even worth mentioning? I know that they have PFL. I haven't seen as much of that. I've checked out a couple of shows, but I'm just not as on it as I once was. I mean, maybe PFL is going to be the premier league, the premier promotion, and especially given the fact that quite a few names over the years ended up leaving UFC just due to being disgruntled for whatever reason there may have been for it. But yeah, I mean, guys like Francis Ngannou, and I'm trying to think of a couple of other ones, but you know, a lot of these are guys that no longer are a part of UFC, and yeah, they're just some really interesting reasons as to why that is. But either way, and that's the crazy thing, Ngannou wound up being a really heavy hitter, literally, but just in terms of being a name. Like, it was the kind of thing to where he was becoming the name, even more so than a John Jones, and Anderson Silva, even Conor McGregor, or even George St. Pierre, you know, and that's saying an awful lot with that list that I just rattled off. And that's not even going into the women, the likes of Ronda Rousey, Chris Cyborg, Amanda Nunes, and so forth. But, you know, even with all that being the case, to me, and it's just really interesting for the fact that really looking back on it, I remember watching another content creator, I'm not sure exactly who it was. Feels like it was Joe Cronin, but I'm not 100%. But anyway, when it was announced that UFC and ESPN were going to come to an agreement and have their deal, whoever it was said that they are going to end up losing some money. And I don't know if that's entirely the case, but he wasn't wrong in terms of them lacking the same effectiveness. And I went way too much into a tangent on that, but I think I bring that up specifically because, you know, it turns out ESPN, or not ESPN, but UFC, may be looking to work a deal with Netflix. And that would be pretty interesting to see, and I'm not going to lie, that might actually be the best thing that could happen for the UFC, being on Netflix. Now, maybe they're leveraging Jones Masvidal as a fight that could be something to build for the UFC on Netflix, if that ever becomes a thing. But I don't know. Like, I guess we'll find out. Either way, it's just really wild, and I think the reason I brought that up is because you look at guys like that, yet the closest draws that you have to that, he mentioned other ones, which was a group that included Sean O'Malley. I like Sean O'Malley, but is he the name that can quite carry a company the likes of the UFC? I don't know. That's really, really difficult for me to say. And given that I haven't followed UFC as closely, that makes it even tougher. But for all that's worth, you know, and I think this is where I want to talk about, you know, AEW a bit more. Just the contrast that I would see between them and the UFC is significant because, again, just talking about those draws and the fact that, as the fine folks from True Heat were pointing out, each and every last one of those dudes between Swerve, Hangman, and Ospreay, well, they said 10 years. I'm not going to say that, to be perfectly honest, because I feel like I've heard Swerve say that, and if I recall, his new deal that he's on now is a 5-year deal, and I remember hearing about him being on record saying that it's a very good chance this could be the last contract that he ever takes on as a wrestler, which is very understandable. And he's definitely at that age to where, you know, for everything that he's done, he doesn't need to wrestle anymore. I'm pretty sure he's pretty well financially set with this deal, but he can build into other things that that would actually be pretty interesting to see. I don't know. I mean, Swerve to me is just made, and there's no doubt about it. Same thing is true with Ospreay and Hangman. And yeah, they definitely have a lot more going for them than, say, a John Jones or any of those fighters that I mentioned from the UFC. Like, basically what that boils down to is, at least with AEW, you can say there's something of significance that we can all look forward to down the road as we continue to move on through time. That isn't entirely the case with the UFC, and once these guys that I talked about are gone there, and if they're not successful with landing a Netflix deal, it's going to be like, then what, you know? But that's neither here nor there on that. Just focusing strictly and specifically on AEW now. Yeah, it was just really an amazing segment to start off with Swerve, Hangman, and Ospreay, and just everything that was happening there, especially with Ospreay trying to bring Hangman and Swerve together, which, impossible task, right? I mean, that's what you would certainly think, but, you know, in the long run, I don't know. It's gonna be really fascinating to see how all that unfolds, but at the same time, I'm also incredibly confident that, just, again, thinking about the notion of where WWE's trying to sabotage them, kind of like how they try to do for Double or Nothing, but I'm pretty sure that failed. Even though Battleground was actually a really damn good show. I would actually say probably even a phenomenal show. It wasn't Double or Nothing, and the funny thing about it is that I don't even think that's the best Double or Nothing we've had. I'm trying to think on which one that was. It was like, honestly, it's hard to go against the first one, because, man, that shit was insane. And there were some other ones that I'm thinking about. I just can't remember off the top of my head. But either way, yeah. I mean, putting Battleground against Double or Nothing, I just feel like just doesn't make any sense. I mean, let's look at it like this. especially because of the fact that AEW is getting closer to what we were seeing when they were hot. I have to mention that because of the fact that originally NXT aired on Wednesdays, which is where AEW came in and took over on Wednesdays. And they pretty much killed NXT. Now, granted, this was during a time where obviously Trips hadn't taken over yet, and Vince was still doing Vince things. We hadn't gotten to the point to where Janelle Grant was even a thought. At least as far as I know, it wasn't quite that point yet. But Vince was basically doing his Vince type things. And if nothing else, that was huge significantly for AEW because it was the new promotion. Everybody was looking forward to it. The build-up going into the inauguration, or, well, not the inauguration, just the opening of AEW's doors, I guess, is just, it was something else. I mean, I think about the pressers that they had at the time. It was crazy. It was crazy, and it was so strong for a while, but then it tailed off because they just kept focusing so much on WWE for whatever the reason may have been at that point. I don't know. But one way or another, it's good to see that they're going back to what they were. And with a lot of the talent that they have now, I think that's great. Excuse me. Especially because of the fact that, if I'm being perfectly honest, this is going to be the way that I mean, I'm not going to be one of those foolish enough to say that I see them catching AEW or seeing AEW catch WWE to that particular degree. That's just not going to be the case. Say WWE's been around entirely too long. I mean, even TNA, who I think just had their 20th anniversary or whatever, there was never any chance of that happening. And they've been around longer, so hell, people believe that TNA is going to end up getting bought out by WWE, and at the rate things are going, I hate to say it, but it's looking that way. I don't care for that because, I mean, truth be told, the AAA thing is one thing, okay? It doesn't sit well with me in terms of the fact that it's obviously the start of the monopoly that they've been wanting to do for forever. But at the same time, I'm trying to look at it from a positive perspective because, you know, between AAA, CMLL, New Japan, Noah, Stardom, Marigold, all those that just aren't US-based promotions, it's tougher for me to keep up with. Now, New Japan was a little bit different because, of course, there was a point where I was actively watching Access TV, especially with TNA on there. But that's not quite the same anymore for me personally, and only because of the fact that I've had some changes that have taken place over recent years, so it's been hard enough for me to keep up with that the same way. That being said, of course, this will ultimately wind up changing that for me. I'm pretty sure that's going to make it to where it's not just televised in Mexico, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be a partner where, I mean, hell, I'd be cool with the notion, even without being acquired by TKO, if whether it's AAA or even CMLL, I would be happy with either of them being on like Telemundo, because, you know, obviously they're in line with NBC Universal, but more than anything else, they'll have the kind of exposure stateside that they actually deserve, right? Either way, I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. I'll look forward to Worlds Collide next Saturday, and I'm definitely going to be looking forward to Money in the Bank and everything else that goes with that. But yeah, in all honesty, really, really interesting stuff there. But yeah, just going back to the whole thing with AEW, it's just good to see where they're at now. But you've got WWE basically doing what doing what AEW was, and that's just trying to mess with them because competition. And in all honesty, AEW brought it on themselves for the shit that they were doing. And to me, they're going to have to navigate through that accordingly, and I'm sure they will. However, the issue here is that everything that WWE is looking to do to counteract everything that AEW is doing, whether it's promoting shows for the same weekend and or day as AEW pay-per-views, or even the fact that they're going to be airing an episode of NXT, and I'm actually going to bring my calendar up here real quick, just so I can make sure that I've got this correct, because I don't know that I had this earlier. But let's go ahead. So, okay, I don't know how the hell I figured August 19th. I'm thinking it would have to be August 16th, which actually, oh no, that's the 7th. Or that's September. Oops. Wrong one. Okay, so it would be August 19th. That does fall on a Tuesday. Alright, that makes sense. Alright, so, yeah. August 19th, NXT is airing an episode from the 2300 Arena, which is interesting, especially because that's literally a week before AEW starts their 7-week residency at the 2300. I think that's where that backfires on WWE, if I'm being perfectly honest. I really do. I mean, I want to say it's actually going to be the weekend of All In where it backfires on them, but if it doesn't backfire on them by then, it certainly will by the time we get to this 2300 business. Because you got to figure, 7 weeks. 7 weeks. You're going to look me in the face, knowing the improvement we've gotten from AEW pretty much from the start of the year. I feel like there are points of the year that they were actually improving last year. I mean, it just wasn't consistent yet. But coming into 2025, the consistency's definitely there. Now, not every show is going to be amazing, and that's what I said to be true when Trips took over after Vince was relieved amid the Janelle Grant situation. But the thing about that is that, especially at that time, as he was just getting started in the position that he's in, I mean, nobody could say that it was all that much different just yet, because it was going to take time. Same thing is true with AEW. All the things that they're having to recover from, no way that shit wasn't going to take time, and it's still going to. They're still working their way out of it. They're going at an incredibly great pace, and they're doing all of the right things, but there's still a bit of a ways to go. There really is. And that's just the way that it works. It's not something that's just going to happen overnight, but you do have to acknowledge the fact that the product is a fuck of a lot better than what it once was. And there are no ifs, ands, or buts about that. So, knowing this, you're going to look me in the face and tell me that AEW is going to have 7 straight bad weeks at the 2300, especially after NXT has their episode there on the 19th. I'm sorry, I just don't fucking see that. You cannot convince me that anything about that is even remotely fucking real. Because it's not. There's just no way that it is. Now, even for as strongly as I'm speaking on that, and as convinced as I am of that, you know, anything can and will happen with this shit. I mean, that's just life in general, if we're being honest. And pardon me with that, I'm just charging my phone right now. But yeah, realistically speaking, to go in there, have an episode the week before AEW actually starts this 7-week residency in that very venue, it's just silly to me. It really, really is. I don't understand it. I don't see the point in it. And like I said, I gotta feel like if it doesn't backfire on WWE by the time we get to All In, it's gotta backfire for this shit. And I don't see any way around that at this point. And that's literally where I'm at with that. Hopefully, we just get the best product from both companies moving forward, and hell, even TNA for that matter. They've definitely been having a hell of a run. I gotta admit, I need to be watching a bit more, but again, it's difficult. It's difficult right now, but I'm getting to a point to where that will probably start changing. A lot of things actually have been turning around for me in recent weeks, which has been pretty fascinating. Just a lot of the things that have been going on. I mentioned that I have been taking time off from work, and that's been very, very helpful. I mean, I don't know if you noticed it in the videos that I was doing up to that point, but I just wasn't right. I wasn't right. I'm still not 100% to where I'd like to be with a lot of things. I'm still working on that. And I'm definitely working through some mental health shit. I mean, there's no denying that either, because I think that's something that we're all navigating through in this day and age. I mean, I'd be lying if I said that wasn't the case. I'm pretty sure there are those of you that are seeing this that are feeling the exact same way. You're not exactly going through the same things that I'm going through, but at the same time, I don't go through what you go through either. I mean, we're all living completely different lives, pretty much working our way through different stories of our own, but they all intertwine one way or another. Either way, I just say all that because I feel like things are going to be getting better. I am going to be getting I feel like I'll get stronger with everything that I'm doing with this, pertaining not only to content, but hopefully streaming as well. I definitely want to get better there. And I gotta say, even though I didn't really do a whole lot with what I had last night, or I guess I didn't have the results I was hoping for last night, I still feel pretty good. I still feel pretty good, and I enjoyed being able to do a live reaction. And to be honest with you, not having a whole lot of viewers doesn't really bother me all that much, because I did say I was gonna do stuff for the final broadcast of the NBA on TNT, and that's exactly what happened. I'm very happy that I was able to do that. Again, it's still very surreal for me that we're no longer going to have the NBA on TNT again. 36 years. Needless to say, I've been around for all of that and then some, because yeah, I'm not going to go into my age here. Shouldn't be embarrassed by that, but yeah, actually, fuck it. I'll go ahead and put it out there. I'm not ashamed of it. Yeah. 36 years. I'm going to be 46 later this month. So that means there were 10 years where there wasn't NBA on TNT. And now we're kind of back to that again, which is really, really wild to think about. But all the same, you know, it's definitely sad to see that that's no longer going to be the case. I do look forward to seeing what we get when it comes to NBC and Amazon, in addition to ESPN and ABC. But definitely sad to see this go. I do like the fact that the inside crew will still be around. I don't know if they'll necessarily be the inside crew as we know them. I'm not sure if the show will still be inside the NBA, but it will be a part of ESPN, ABC. So that'll be good to see that crew there, EJ, Shaq, Kenny, and Charles. So I'm happy about that, at the very least. And even more than that, you know, I look forward to the finals, actually. I really feel like we're going to have a fantastic series to look forward to starting Thursday with the Pacers and the Thunder. I, again, am leaning towards the Pacers right now. I'll probably go as far as saying I'm likely going to go with the Pacers in 6. Just being perfectly honest, I just don't know, looking at the Thunder team, that outside of SGA, am I actually and truly convinced that they would necessarily beat Indiana. Because the thing about Indiana, they're every bit as deep, and they actually just defeated a team in the New York Knicks that, similar to the Thunder, are actually a bit bigger in the front court. Yet the Knicks just got thoroughly outplayed. I mean, pretty much throughout the series. Granted, the Knicks actually did force the Game 6 and all, but it shouldn't have even come down to that. Because if we're being perfectly honest, especially as it was shown in Game 5, the Knicks are capable of being, if not every bit as, certainly close to being as deep as the Pacers are, but I don't know if they're as good scoring-wise. Only because of the fact that you got guys on that Knicks roster that you should actually believe in, namely the likes of a Mikal Bridges, and I would say, who was the other guy in that? OG Anunoby. Those dudes, I would say more so Bridges than Anunoby, but both guys are definitely star quality players. I think Anunoby proved that during his time in Toronto. Alongside Pascal Siakam, Norman Powell, Kawhi Leonard, and all those dudes, Marc Gasol, when they won the championship in 2019. And it's not like he tailed off. And here's another thing. We actually got a Landry Fields sighting last night. Y'all know Landry Fields has actually been a very effective player on pretty much every team he's been on, right? I mean, I'm just saying, that's really all there is as far as that's concerned. But yeah, just getting the point. Again, Pacers outplayed them. They played a fantastic series of basketball. Not just then, they did a great job against the Cavaliers. And of course, the round before that, I don't know, I'm struggling to remember who that was exactly. So I'm just trying to remember the bracket. Okay. Celtics had Magic, Cavs had the Heat, Knicks had the Pistons. Oh yeah, the Bucks. The Pacers, the Bucks. Okay, yeah. Man. And given, it's actually funny thinking about this, given all the issues that Milwaukee had, I honestly didn't think that Indiana was going to be that problematic for Milwaukee the way they ended up beating. And on top of that, ended up just dismissing them very, very handily. But, yeah, either way, it's going to be fun to watch. The matchups, shit, 1 through 10 are going to be awesome. And, you know, a lot has been said. A lot of people seem to think that the Pacers aren't that good of a defensive team. I mean, what did we see in the conference finals then? I don't get that, but that's the kind of thing to where they're capable of matching what the Thunder do. And the Thunder, when they're really on, are a fantastic defensive team. I gotta say, I've actually been impressed. It's just, again, there's SGA, but to me, there should also be Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren. But they don't show up all the time. You don't have to worry about that from the likes of a Pascal Siakam or even a Miles Turner alongside Tyrese Halliburton, who, if nothing else, might be becoming one of the bigger stars in the league that we have. I mean, good God, this dude is amazing. But, yeah. I mean, those dudes aren't anything to sleep on. Neither is Nembhard, neither is Nesmith, neither is TJ McConnell, nor is Benedict Mathurin. Bear down. Wildcats, baby. AZ. Or U of A, sorry. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of U of A basketball. Have been since '97, but either way, yeah, I don't know. I just actually feel as if the Pacers are a much better matchup for the Thunder than people are probably going to give them credit for. And again, I feel like I have a tough time believing the Pacers can't win that. I don't see how they can't. And I'm probably going to be leaning towards them to pick them to win this series. I practically have at this point, but really neither here nor there. I'll just save that official aspect of that for the prediction video, which will come probably Wednesday, if not sometime during the day Thursday, so look forward to that. But, yeah, that's pretty much all. Oh, I guess I could talk a little bit more about football, because a lot of cool things have been happening there. Obviously, I'm a Broncos fan, so I'm looking forward to that. Also, look forward to, I did say I was going to do some gaming. The plan was going to be me doing a little bit of either Madden or College 25. The nap that I wound up taking today wound up having an effect on that, so that's probably not going to work. If I'm able to go live tomorrow, look forward to that for a little bit. Probably be maybe 2 or 3 hours that I am doing that, and we'll start that off the same way with what I'm doing now. Just gonna be live here to talk a little bit of my shit here, but that's really all there is gonna be to that. But yeah, football-wise, we're closing in on it, man. I mean, yeah, I just talked about the finals, but we're getting that much closer to football season, baby, and I'm looking forward to it. OTAs are currently ongoing. I think we're in the second week of that. And then, of course, we'll have training camp and then preseason with the NFL. And then, of course, college will be starting here. I believe in August, if I recall correctly. We'll be getting College 26 on, actually, let's get a definitive date on that. Bear with me one moment. So we can talk about that a bit more. Hold on. Thinking this is a bit here. So. Okay, oh, 619. Oh, that's because of the Ultimate Team shit for the pre-order. So yeah, I'm gonna just look at this here. Oh wait. I don't think I meant to do that. Okay, so no, that's not where I want to go for that. Alright, just going to go into the Microsoft store here. And hell, I'll even do it this way. I don't know why I was about to reach down for shit. That's weird. I don't know why that's not. Oh. Duh, that would help. Okay, so. Let's see. I'm pretty sure I should be making this a lot easier on myself, but hey, it is what it is. Let's see. So, looking into this, I don't think this is okay. Let me again, much easier way to go about this. As you see me with my controller, yeah, I got that going right now. College. Oops. There we go. There we go. 26th of bundle. Let's see. Release date is July 10th. Okay. Or pre-order for July 10th. And with the bundle, I just want to make sure of this. I'm pretty sure with this I get the 3 days early access. So yeah, as you see here, July 7th. So July 7th, look forward to me being live, looking to do the stream with College Football 26, MUT 26, or Cut 26, I should say. MUT 26 will be when Madden releases. But yeah, that's that for where that's concerned. Definitely look forward to that. But yeah, if I'm able to go live tomorrow, I'll probably be playing a mix of college and Madden Ultimate teams tomorrow. Look forward to that. But yeah, gonna be really cool to see all these things as we get close to football season. Really, again, as a Broncos fan, I want to bring up if there are any fellow Broncos fans, I checked out DNVR Sports. Shout out to my boy, Mr. Pick Six. Hopefully you're out there and you're able to see this. And I also hope that your move to Arkansas has been very smooth and that everything with you and your family is going well. Love you to death. And definitely give my love to the family as well if you're seeing this. But yeah. I was watching Benny Fowler, which he does some one-on-one interviews with some folks. He actually has 3 of them up, which the one I watched earlier today was one of the newer signings. Actually, 2 of the ones that he has uploaded right now, last time I checked anyway, was him interviewing the two of the new Denver signees in Talanoa Hufanga, which that's the one I watched earlier today, and Evan Ingram, our new starting tight end. And I haven't watched the one with Evan Ingram. Apparently the third one's with Mike Tannenbaum, which, why? But either way, I guess that could be worth watching. I am going to check out the Evan Ingram one. But I like the interview with Talanoa Hufanga. That was pretty cool to see, and I gotta say, I'm looking forward to him in our secondary. Golly. Dude is a thumper. He's a bigger, but also, I hate going here with this, a slightly lesser version of what Troy Polamalu was. And it's nothing to sneeze at because he is on all pro level shit, to say the very least, is Hufanga. I mean, you've seen the things that he did for the 49ers, man. And on top of that, Dre Greenlaw came out here with him? What? I mean, how are we not going to have a top 5 defense in the league this year? But enough about that. A lot of wild things that took place, especially after the draft. The whole thing with I call it the brotherly shove. I'm not going to call it by that other name. That just, gosh, I hate, people are so lazy going with that terminology, which I'm not going to say those 2 4-letter words. But yeah, like, that was just kind of wonky in and of itself with how all that worked out. But more than anything else, I just don't see how they were going to get that banned. I mean, for one thing, it blows my mind that it was even being discussed in the first place. Because let's think about it. Never mind the fact that they won the Super Bowl this past season. Let's go to the season before 2023, particularly the playoff matchup they had with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The shit didn't work in that game. Tampa Bay found a way to stop it. Now, granted, the difference between the Eagles' O-line then and the O-line that just won the Super Bowl, yeah, definitely night and day. And of course, that was the last game of Jason Kelce's career. But the point I'm trying to make here is there are ways of stopping it. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that if you had that matchup take place right now, Tampa would necessarily stop that, even though they are actually keeping their front seven as strong as it's ever been in a long time, or as strong as it's been in a long time. But I'd like to think they would have a pretty good shot at it. And, you know, it's all about leverage. If you could just figure that aspect of it out, we're not having this conversation anymore, are we? I just don't see where and how we are. But that's just my take on that. And of course, there was a situation where the Pittsburgh Steelers traded away wide receiver George Pickens to the Dallas Cowboys, and they're actually helping the Cowboys out, which is really wild to me. I mean, they must not have liked the shit they were dealing with from Pickens to where they had to make that move. And I don't know, it's going to be interesting to see how Dallas capitalizes on that, but man, that's just something wild to think about when it all boils down to it. But maybe that's just me. And of course, there's all the shit. Everybody's thinking about Aaron Rodgers. Is he going to finally sign with the Steelers? Blah, blah, blah. Like, anyone's really going to give a fuck. I mean, here's the thing. If Rodgers even has anything left to the extent that we want to believe that he does, the Steelers will actually have a really good shot at doing some things in the playoffs. I'm not going to go as far as saying they will go very far or even make it into the Super Bowl, much less the championship or the AFC championship game. I mean, maybe they do, maybe they don't, I don't know. But to me, excuse me. Sorry, got to get that in there, unfortunately. But to me, I just don't know that realistically, especially with the way they wound up being this year, I mean, they did make some improvements, but will it work out the same way? I mean, the point I'm trying to make is that the AFC is only going to be that much tougher, especially when you look at the likes of the Jaguars. I think they're going to be better than what they have been. I think Liam McCollum and what was I about to call Trevor Lawrence? Trevor McLawrence? Oh my God. Anyway, Liam McCollum and Trevor Lawrence, I think, will wind up doing pretty well, especially given the things that we saw the Buccaneers offense do. Pardon me as I'm taking a drink from my water, but yeah, I feel like they're going to be better. The Texans are going to be better than what they were last year because that was clearly a C.J. Stroud sophomore slump. I have no doubt about that. Now, we're not going to have that with Bo Nix. There will be no sophomore slump there because there are just too many damn good pieces there to where, sophomore slump just is not going to exist here in Denver. So we can forget all the way the fuck about that for those that are hoping for it. But, yeah, look at C.J. Stroud. He's going to be out of that. And the Texans are going to be better. They made some really surprising additions that I didn't even think about. But, yeah, they're going to be a problem like they were in 2023. and even more so than they were in 2024. Excuse me, because their defense is only getting better. And those, I think, were the additions that I'm thinking about. Again, with CJ Stroud and the pieces that they have offensively, I don't know how they don't get better. They probably could use another wide receiver of a high enough level to give them that push. Maybe even another tight end. But other than that, they're going to be knocking on the door. I imagine Baltimore's definitely going to be better, having added Nuke Hopkins to what they were able to do with Derrick Henry. I don't see them having necessarily the same issues that they did. And especially because DeAndre Hopkins is the type of receiver that fits well into what Baltimore's system does. Kansas City will still be Kansas City. Anyway. What else? I'm trying to think. The Chargers are still going to be pretty good. That's what I was wanting to say. Shout out to my man Darren. Who hopefully is the one that I see watching here, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah. I expect the Chargers to be better than they were last year. They ain't sweeping the Broncos, but they're definitely going to be better. Raiders will surprise some people, but they're not going to be as strong as people want, or they want people to believe. They're going to do some things to where you think you're going to look forward to what they're doing. I don't know. It depends. If Pete Carroll's really still every bit the coach that anyone is inclined to believe him to be, even myself included, they'll do some things, but it's just a matter of, is it enough for it to matter? And that's the only thing when it comes to the Raiders that I actually question, because that's just been the thing. Will they do anything that actually matters? And who knows? Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Only time will tell. But, yeah, all of that being the case. Oh, yeah, Browns are definitely going to be better. Let me not forget about the fucking Browns, man. They definitely made some moves, and their draft class, really nice. Patriots are going to be really interesting. Dolphins will be interesting to see. Obviously, the Bills are still going to be the top of the AFC East and probably are the front runners to go to the Super Bowl this season out of the AFC. If not Baltimore or Kansas City. And yeah, that's just the AFC right there. NFC will be interesting too. Just with the NFC West specifically, I think, because all of them made moves, whether it was a draft or free agency, and I would say I expect the Cardinals to some degree being better. Especially because they improved their defense a lot with the signings that they made, and on top of that, picking up Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss, who was one of 3 defensive tackles I was wanting the Broncos to pick up, but of course that wasn't the case. We wound up getting Jahdae Barron, which I'm every bit as happy with as well, so looking forward to that. But yeah, I feel like the Cardinals have to be better than what they have been. I mean, they've just added to their roster. 49ers, again, that'll be interesting to see how they recover from losing Greenlaw and Hufanga to the Broncos. And I don't think that was the only guy they lost either. Of course, they have re-signed Brock Purdy. We'll see if that winds up working out. Deebo Samuel got traded to the Commanders. I think Brandon Ayuk got traded. If not, is on the way out. And I want to say they made some additions, but I'm not 100% sure. Even with that being the case, you still got Seattle, who actually didn't look too bad last season. I'm going to imagine with, I think Mike whatever the name of their coach is that was over in Baltimore, they, I imagine, are going to be interesting to watch. They're going to be building with. Actually, they got Sam Darnold, Sam Howell, and I feel like they have another quarterback there that they might be grooming to take over. I don't know, but they'll be interesting. But only because they've already had pieces there, and of course they added Cooper Kupp, who was released by the Rams. And I would think the Rams would still be a factor, possibly still winning the division in the AFC or the NFC West. And then, of course, you got the Green Bays, the Lions, maybe even the Bears of the world. I think Tampa is still going to be pretty good. A lot of us were thinking we were going to see New Orleans, but now that Derek Carr has decided to retire, they're pretty much rebuilding now. So it's literally Tampa, Atlanta, maybe even Carolina. I mean, Bryce Young started showing signs towards the end of the season, so that's always good for them. And they actually did make some additions that I think were good for them as well. And, of course, there's the NFC East. I mean, what more needs to be said about that? I talked about the Cowboys. We'll see what they're able to do, but they did do some good things, adding pieces that I feel like they probably could use. I don't think they did everything that they possibly could, but they're definitely looking a lot. Well, they're looking better. Will it be a lot better? Only time will tell. We'll see once the season comes along. But more than that, I'm pretty sure we can trust that the Commanders are going to be there. I mean, they definitely are as strong as they have been. And again, they just brought in Debo. They actually brought in quite a few names, which is going to be really interesting to see. I think they might be in the front of the line in terms of acquiring the services of J.K. Dobbins, which is something that it seemed like the Broncos were looking at doing at one point. Maybe they still do, if the Commanders don't. Or maybe the Broncos bring in, like, if they don't do that, I'd like to think they'd bring in, like, a Cam Akers or something. I don't know. But either way, that's the Commanders there. They're going to be pretty interesting to watch. Giants probably not so much, but I think if Brian Daboll can get them to perform well, he actually has a new lease on life in terms of his contract with the Giants, but that's one of those where only time can tell on that one. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see about that. Going to be really interesting stuff to look forward to coming into the season and even going into training camp. I mean, a lot of stuff that we'll be talking about. And yeah, that's pretty much all I can say on that. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I'm going to have for tonight. I don't know that I plan to be on this long entirely after everything that wound up working out the way that it did. And as behind us, I ended up falling on things. But yeah, it was good to be able to get on for a little bit and get this going. I look forward to doing a lot more of this, although, again, it won't be this week, unfortunately. And depending on how things go, it probably won't be next week so much. I would say the thing to look forward to in that regard is, again, I will absolutely be live Thursday night for the finals, game 1, so look forward to that. Will I do anything for any of the wrestling shows next weekend? I don't know yet. I'm going to think about that. There's a chance I will, but if anything, I will probably just go live for Money in the Bank. Maybe. Maybe not. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, but I will definitely be live Friday. Or, I mean, not Friday, but Thursday. And I would say there's a... You know what? I'll just go ahead and, yeah, I'll be live Saturday as well. I'll probably be live Saturday as well. Well, let me not say that yet. If you hear from me on Friday, I'll be live Saturday. And by hear from me, I mean I'll post it on X, And I'll even talk about it in one of the videos that day that I'll do. So yeah, yeah. If I'm good to, I'll go live Saturday, and yeah, that'll be that. But for now, I think that's gonna be it for me tonight. And thank those of you that actually did come through to watch very much. I hope to see more of you, and in the long run, I'm gonna do everything I can to make that happen. But yeah, pretty cool stuff. Glad to be able to be on for tonight. And yeah, thanks for being here. Again, tomorrow, not real sure, but if I am live, it'll be definitely an earlier part of the day. I'd say probably, I'm going to go ahead and guess maybe noonish, afternoonish type stuff. We'll see. Maybe even late afternoon. It'll be going all the way into about close to the start of Monday Night Raw. And that's probably where I'll be cutting it, because I won't be live for Raw. I'm not gonna do that anytime soon, unless y'all decide that that's something y'all want me to do. We'll talk about it. But yeah, either way, for now, I appreciate y'all being here, and I'll